Alright,
Just do it randomly, like mid-conversation.
Alright.
yeah.
This is quite a way to intro the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Joey Plays Games Podcast. This is episode 2.
Oh.
We're breaking down the WandaVision episode 3. We got some news stories sprinkling throughout. We got a lot to talk about today. It's been a relatively slow news week, but there's been some big stories, and then we got a real beefy story episode that came out today. So let's get into it. I want to first introduce my co-hosts. We got first and foremost, who's in the camera frame with me today.
It's me. It's Nick.
It's Nick. Back from last week. Then we got Ronnie making his return and keeping us lively as always. And then we got Matt down in my lower third. And then we got Owen. And hopefully I don't have to edit out Owen.
Yeah.
I did last time. Shout out to those of you who noticed.
Don't worry, I don't have anything.
Let's get into the news. First, let's talk about some things being shifted around in the movie world. We've got Morbius shifting from October to next year, and we've got Bond shifting from this April to, I believe it's also October. But that, and then there's also talks of Black Widow being pushed again. I'm not restarting this. If you guys want to keep laughing, it's more fun for me to go in and edit it later. Jeez, Ronnie's rolling right now. All right, anybody got thoughts on dates being pushed around, or no?
It's exactly what I expected to happen. I feel like just like in general, even before COVID, they've been doing that over and over with a lot of movies. Maybe not so much the MCU, just because they've always kind of been on their game with that kind of release date and like actually getting things done. Mm-hmm. But as far as now during COVID times, it was kind of expected to some extent that they were going to push everything to something, like, because they want to get things out in the right order. I feel like that's something that the MCU really depends on, making sure everything's coming out in the right way, keeping that like, passion alive between releases, you know? Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of that was done regardless throughout this whole experience. And as for the other movies, it was kind of just expected as well. So that's my...
Yeah. Matt, as a big James Bond fan, are you disappointed by this?
I mean, like, I'm bummed out, but it really, you got COVID and it's expected. It's nothing new. Honestly, like, the more time they have, the better it's probably going to be. So I wouldn't want to rush anything either if I was in their position.
I feel that. Owen, you got any thoughts?
It was expected. I mean,
all right, so I'll just repeat.
These dates are very loose.
I think the biggest thing for me, Bond isn't so much a shock, but the fact that the Sony movies keep flip-flopping the order in which they're being released, with Morbius initially being expected to come out last summer, and then Venom was the fall, and then Spider-Man 3 being off in the distance, and then now both Venom and Morbius are in the can, they're finished, and now we've got Spider-Man. They're filming Spider-Man 3, and it's looking like it's gonna go Venom 2, Spider-Man 3, and then Morbius. So I think that's the bigger news piece for me, at least, that how for an interconnected universe that they're trying to develop, how exactly is that going to work? Especially because their movies seem to be not in so much in order. I think you can speak to this as well, that the biggest thing is that MCU, they flip-flopped a lot of their Phase 4 movies, but that's because this is kind of like Phase 1. If you put Phase 1 out of order, except for, like, obviously sequels becoming before.
See that with Justice League. You did...
Putting the cart before the horse?
Yeah. And then...
Well, I don't agree with that, but...
You're the... vocal minority in that.
Yeah, well...
So...
I mean, I'm just saying, if stories can be told out of order, I think that's one thing. But starting a universe there really should be a general order to it.
Comparing it to what has been successful in the public eye and what has not been successful in the public eye, it is better for it to be vastly in chronological order. So you can say Captain America would be a point against that, but it was also very much standalone at that time, and things were still developing as if it was going to be a universe. So. And when it went forward for plot and everything, these all seem to be in the same time, jumping around like that just doesn't seem that it'll work.
Yeah. So I think it's just good. Damn, Ronnie's got the giggles today. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for those two news pieces. We got one more big one to talk about, which would be Pedro Pascal confirming in multiple interviews he's done this week, talking about Mandalorian Season 3, and that there's a possibility in how everything's being developed that there will be a time jump between Season 2 and 3, and that there's a possibility they are running with multiple timelines. So, does anybody have any big thoughts on that? Because I wasn't sure that they were going to do a time jump.
I wouldn't say that it'll be
earlier.
Go ahead.
Earlier, you mentioned the whole time jump thing, and I kind of felt like that's what they would do with the series. But now that you mentioned the whole timeline thing, what do you mean by that? Like, there's going to be alternate timelines, or like, just we're going to focus on different
let me pull up the story
not one cohesive.
On my phone, and I believe that it's being referred to in this quote as timelines. But let me pull up the quote and read it to you exactly. So we've got, speaking to IndieWire, Pascal confirmed that a timeline jump in some capacity will happen in Season 3. Quote, "I am told what's happening and what the plan is, but I can't share it," Pascal said. "They are in the expansion of this world where there are so many unexpected surprises and timelines that are going to be dealt with." And then he goes on later to say, "If the characters were to cross over into these worlds, it will be utilized in a way that isn't meant to be expected. I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise of whether or not characters from the show we already know are crossing over." The article goes on to state that it lends credence to the theory that Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Rangers of the New Republic are going to cross over in a big event storyline, a la Arrow, Flash, and all that with their crossovers that they did.
Hopefully, it's more exciting than that.
I feel like that's
hopefully
very interesting. I never thought about the idea of like crossing over with those other series. And now that I know that they're trying to do that, or they might do that, I feel like that brings a lot more hype towards the show, or a lot more incentive to watch those other shows alongside The Mandalorian with the success that it's had. But yeah, I feel like the time jump was kind of expected to some extent with like the whole baby Grogu being, taken away by Luke, and continuing that storyline in some capacity in the future, maybe with the time jump like that. But yeah, I'm just excited to see that because I really do like the time jumps that they do in Star Wars, because we really get to see kind of the capacity that this timeline has.
Time jumps don't really affect anything. I mean, I don't think they affect too many things. Like, so many things do time skips and stuff. I mean, timelines, there's maybe some iffy things with that could get messy, but like, I mean, with how the whole show has been before, I think it'll be pretty solid.
Actually, they kind of hinted at that Snoke stuff with the clones. What if they connected it to the sequels?
I mean, the ongoing theory that I have seen is that when they're referring to timelines, and we talk about things like the multiverse and whatnot, through the Star Wars Rebels arc and Ahsoka's story with Ezra, there is like a bridge between worlds so that they can go in between different timelines. The Lego Holiday Special covered that this year, which was super weird to see that there.
Please no.
But there's
Lego canon.
Yeah, Lego being paving the way here. but there's talk that there's going to be a way to erase the sequels so that they can go back and kind of tread that territory because of the lukewarm reception of the sequels. But I'm not so sure.
Wait, so they're actually considering? They're actually considering like kind of retconning it or no?
That's the theory among a bunch of fan websites, but I think that's just fan websites being like, we didn't like these movies. Here's a way for you to take them out of existence and to tell more stories than that. But I'm not sold.
I'm not a fan of that though. Like, I feel like Star Wars they have too much going for them already to do this whole multiverse thing that all the superhero movies do. They need to just, it's such an expansive world with so many different timelines that like, or not timelines, but like points in time where different stuff is happening. It's just going to make it messy. And honestly, with the whole sequels, if people don't like it, they just need to keep it, accept it, and move on. Like, to not make it canon out of the cut is just so, I feel like it'll just mess things up. I feel like they should just keep it as it is. Whether people liked it or not, you just got to live with it.
Yeah, I think for right now, it needs to just stay.
I feel like
Matt, your camera's frozen. If you want to take a second to refresh it, turn it off.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I wanted to add on to Matt's point. I feel like what got them into this mess in the first place was how seriously they took. How seriously they took the fan reactions towards the sequel films, and them taking that way too much into consideration kind of took them off the path of the original story they wanted to tell with those sequels. Let alone the fact that it wasn't already prepped very well in the first place. So then the added fact that they had to take stuff out or put stuff in because of fan reaction just kind of got them in this whole mess. And I feel like doing that again is not going to get them anywhere beneficial, at least in my eyes. Even though there's a lot of fans that would want it, I don't think it's going to work out for them in the long run if they try to focus on doing that all over again.
Yeah. I think they crapped the bed. They need to sleep in it for right now. You can take advantage of multiverse in that.
I like that analogy.
Well, I mean,
they gotta change their own sheets now.
Yeah, the expression is when you shit the bed, you sleep in it. You got to be able to sleep in it.
Not me. Maybe you.
Not me, bro. If I shit the bed, I'm gonna fix that.
Okay, here's the thing.
Joey shits the bed and sleeps in it.
I'm not you.
Joey just shits the bed and sleeps in it.
I'm pretty sure you make your bed and now you lie in it, bro. It's not. It's got nothing to do with shit.
It's another version, but I think
I've never heard this shit one, dude. What the? No.
Okay, bro. Sleeps in it.
But
I want to say something though. Like,
yeah.
It's not about poop.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's the thing. I'm so sick of like the whole like Skywalker like time like part of the timeline thing. And aren't they like? Isn't it like rumored for like the next trilogy they're gonna go like earlier before all this Skywalker stuff to like the beginning of the Republic? Is that like confirmed or anything? Because the Star Wars universe is so fucking like big, like, and you could go like maybe like forward in time or like back in time and just tell completely different stories separated from all these characters. Like, I want some new shit. Like, I don't want just like rehashing of the same stuff.
Yeah, I
agree.
I think that's why there's no movies on the slate right now. And when you look at all the Disney Plus projects that they announced, that it's very much the time is not it what they've got going on. They've got a lot in a certain time, but then you start jumping around time periods in the timeline. But it's we'll see what happens. I think there's cadence to that. I just the time jump for me, the big piece about that news story was that they may not highlight Grogu's absence on Mando as much as I thought they were going to in season 3, but you never know. We'll see. I'm excited for what they do, but I thought that was noteworthy to talk about. So, unless anybody else has anything really they want to talk about, I mean, we can talk about the Black Widow being possibly pushed, but I think there's a chance that may just go day and date on Disney Plus. But otherwise, Yes.
The one thing from the timeline thing was I think they just use it as a storytelling tool. Like from The Witcher, they had the different timelines that at the end of the season it all ended up being you can make it consecutive. So I think that it'll be you see different things out of order next season, and then at the end it all makes sense. So it'll be jumping from character to character of
I see what you're talking about.
Bo has to deal with Mando having the saber. Mando is now dealing with the saber, or how Gideon is, what Gideon's going on, how he escapes, or whatever goes on. I think it'll be there's just different lines that are going to be presented to you out of order, and it'll then at the end of the season, all kind of the keystone will come in, and then you'll be like, oh, that's when that happened, and that's when that happens.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good theory. I think we should just get into the episode. So, Ronnie, would you like to start us off with your thoughts?
I liked it. I like the color. I feel like they really. I don't know what they did with the saturation or the filters or what, but I feel like the colors really popped. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we were looking at black and white for most of the time. But I feel like looking at it now, everything really popped out, and I like that visual camera work they had with the episode. Aside from that, I feel like the story of it, I feel like the sitcom aspect was a little bit funnier this time. I don't know if maybe that's just me.
I felt the same way. But Matt did not.
I feel like some of their jokes. I feel like some of their jokes landed this time. That's not to say that they're still like obviously not the peak level comedy that most average sitcoms would reach, because obviously they're trying to narrow this certain story and it's kind of almost a parody. But as far as some of the jokes in this episode, I feel like they've definitely landed a lot more than they have in the past. And then as far as the like underlying story narrative, I feel like they kind of gave us a lot more than the 2 episodes did. And I really like that, showing us the base and showing us kind of those moments where Wanda is kind of relapsing and kind of realizing that her simulation is being broken. So she's clearly aware that this is all in her head. And one part that really intrigued me was the whole vision thing, because while everyone else knows that they're kind of in a simulation in Wanda's head, Vision seems to be the only one that doesn't. So that's as far as one of the only questions I have, that's what it's mainly about. But yeah, overall, I feel like it was a better episode than the last 2, and I liked everything they gave us so far.
Matt, you got a lot of thoughts about this one. I want you to lay them on us.
First things first, can you guys see me?
Yes. You're good now.
And okay. My sister came in my room earlier, sorry. But yeah, I feel like I like the lead up where it's going, and they got there at the end. And it's getting really exciting now because we're finally seeing what's really happening. And characters, that little gossip scene where the guy's like near his plants or whatever, and what's her name? Her friend?
Agnes.
Yeah. She's talking to him and everything, and like I can see where it's leading, but I'm not going to deny that the beginning was boring. the whole sitcom thing, like no one's watching it because of that, and like I like introducing that in the first place was cool. It's kind of like this novelty. It's like bringing it back to life, kind of in a sense, and it's cool seeing that. I see why the attraction's there, but when you see it the first 2 episodes, and none of the humor is funny to me at all. Like maybe like 1 or 2 little jokes here and there. The whole sitcom thing it's just boring to me. But I see where it's going, and I'm still liking the show. And I like this big lead up. And you did say it was a slow burn, but it was just a little boring to me. Other than that, though, like I like where it's going.
Okay, Owen.
I mean, somewhat going off what Matt was saying. I mean, I feel like the whole reason they're doing the sitcom thing is because Wanda's, in sitcoms and shit, like it's always basically pretty much perfect there. It's like a perfect world. Everything either goes back to the normal at the end of the episode, or like whole progression, I guess. So like, yeah, I feel like that's just in Wanda's head, like putting that. It's like, oh, my life would be perfect if it was like a sitcom. But like, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like slowly she's realizing, oh, well, my life's not perfect. in this era of sitcoms, and then she goes to the next one, and she's kind of just keep trying out until she finds one that I guess would fit. But like which is also kind of why you're seeing it showing like in this episode, it like kind of unravels a bit more. Like you know how she like immediately like rewound time as soon as Vision like was asking like what is going on, which I mean thought was very very cool because like I didn't expect that to be like so early on in the episode. Then like overall I thought the episode was like probably definitely better than the first two, but I mean that's probably just because in my opinion a lot more stuff, and even though it wasn't too much but like more than like before. Like I one thing though at the very end when it like transitions out of like, you know, like the stuff where it has the black bars on the side, it like splits to like is that like what, like widescreen now? Is that what that was?
Full screen.
Yeah, like where the bars full screen is what it is. Yeah,
it was wide.
Like, I think that was really cool. It was a great use of like that shit.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick, and then I'll lay my thoughts on everyone.
I thought it was good. Comedy's hit and miss for some people, and I understand that. I think it's interesting to see. I think we'll see it that the more she fights back on the reality of her perfect family, it'll continue to get worse and worse. So she's fought back twice or 3 times now at this point. Next time you'll probably see at least 3 instances of her going like, nope, nope, nope. And it'll keep on going of her trying to correct it, but more and more will go like a nuclear reaction, chain reaction of one domino leads to the biggest domino falling eventually. So I think that's what the main takeaway I had from the episode.
For me, I loved this episode. I understand everybody's reactions and how this is a better episode than episodes 1 and 2. I think it is, but I think episodes 1 and 2 are going to get a lot of hate as the series progresses. But I think the reason they were released paired and they were released so early on was to kind of set the groundwork for how slow of a burn this show is going to be for the first bunch of episodes. And then as we see now, we're really starting to get it going. I like Owen's call here of the really early use of the rewind, which I agree with Nick. We're only going to see more of, and then it's only going to go up from here. The biggest thing that I saw was I love how they matched tone and tension throughout the episode, where they had so much going on the camera that it was like, but they were being very deliberate with what they were showing. They were like, all these things are kooky and crazy, but we still,
they each have their own purpose.
Yeah, there's a purpose and a point to each one. And I think here's where we start getting into the exact details of the episode. And when she's talking to who we know is Monica Rambeau, we looked this up. Gwendolyn? No,
Gwen.
We're gonna call her Gwen or G.
Geraldine.
There you go. We know Geraldine is Monica Rambeau. We looked this up. She is the same thing. She just arrived early on, but she had lost her memory. So that's why she said at the end she doesn't know her memory. But that moment she and Wanda have when they talk about Pietro, and how there's a slight change in music, and there's just slight changes in Wanda's facial expression, and the tone totally dramatically shifts from it being this comedy where we're making fun and we're having lots of laughs about all this crazy stuff that's going on. The picture's spinning, it's raining, it's doing all sorts of crazy crap. And now we get to, you need to fear for your life because you're playing with something that you don't know what's going on. And I thought that was awesome. It's kind of like episode 2 with the no moment, and I think we're only going to get more of that, and Elizabeth Olsen is doing a great job so far, in my opinion. So is there any moments that we want to particularly break down in the episode, or is it just really kind of the end?
I think that's the end, Joe. No, I'm just kidding. I really want to kind of go into that Pietro scene just because I feel like it was played very well, kind of showing like that fight that Wanda is pushing now, kind of showing how much she's
Probably the
been
most
against
crucial
it.
one.
Yeah. I kind of want to know more about the way that Wanda reacted, just because of how usually when something like this happened, it was more of her shutting it out. But this is the first time we've kind of seen her hone in on that, kind of admitting to the reality of this whole thing being in her head. So I kind of want to see what your guys' thoughts on that, because of how throughout the rest of the series, anytime that had to pertain to the real world, she would kind of just shut it out. But this is the one thing she decided to focus in on and really kind of question and get angry or aggressive about.
Yeah, I'll take the heat on this one first. I think the biggest thing about that scene for me is the gravity of how she delivers it, but it's also she herself. It doesn't appear like she vaguely remembers that this is a simulation or a creation of her own mind and her own powers, or whatever deal she's made with Mephisto or Agnes or Agatha Harkness. But she seems to, when she's reminded of the outside world, there's like a moment where she has like a tinge of guilt, where she looks like there are things that have happened to me that I just want to push down and forget about. And anytime she's reminded of them, it's very much of like it's like an automatic reaction of no, go away. And it only seems to keep happening more and more. And I think her reaction is only going to get more severe. But you got anything you want to say, Nick?
I think you covered everything, really. It's with her reactions to the scene, I think it's telling on the fact that she has that tinge of guilt, because from what I heard from the hedge conversation, it's like those people are trapped in there with her. It's not she's trapped in there with them, they're trapped in there with her. This is because of her that they're figuring whatever that she's done out, or however it's going to end up being, of who's at guilt and who's being a pawn in this chess game. But I think it's telling that she probably has an understanding of it, at times maybe minuscule, but I think she does know that she's being selfish, and I think it'll probably be explored more later on.
Yeah. Owen, Matt, whoever wants to
go. No, I liked what Nick said, because slowly it's unraveling and we're seeing who's at work here, but at the same time it's like, who's the victim in this situation, especially since even with who was the girl who ended up getting launched out, her friend, what was her name again?
Geraldine
is her name that she was referred to in the town, but her character is Monica Rambeau.
Okay, I'll call her Geraldine for now.
Okay.
When she's talking about her brother and killed by Ultron or whatever, it almost sounds, to me at least, this is what the impression I got, like, it seems like she doesn't seem like an antagonist by any means. Like, I feel like, I don't know enough yet, but I don't know if people are trying to wake her up or they're slowly realizing this is all in her head. I don't know if the people there, if this is the only world they've ever known. I don't know yet, but it's slowly unraveling, and we're slowly getting a hint of who's that victim here, and that's just all I have to say, really.
Yeah, for me, I think it's she's got the best intentions, but doesn't realize exactly the outcome of what she's doing. The whole town, and for me, I played it up a little bit more, but I think there's definitely a theme that's being slightly approached of like, is she really the good guy here? What exactly are the roles? I mean, Ronnie brought up the point earlier of like vision, like everybody else seems to understand that this is not what their reality is supposed to be, But Vision, for me, when Ronnie said that, I was like, you brought up a great point. This carbon copy, whatever we want to call him, new Vision, old Vision, Vision 2.0, whatever. I think he's brand new. He's had some piece of his old consciousness put back into him, or her memories of him being put back into him, but that's not the same Vision. So he still has these analytical things that Synthenoid came with, of like he's still trying to process what's going on, and he knows what's been programmed into him. But when he sees this stuff start breaking, he starts questioning of what is my role in all this. And I love that this is getting ramped up more and more each episode. So
what are you guys' predictions for the next episode?
Well, there's one thing I want to lay out there before we get to predictions and we start talking about how we're treating that. So the big scene in this episode was revolving around. I didn't mean to cut you off like that. I wanted to get to the Pietro moment and how there were lots of rumors and speculation about a cameo appearance, and whether it was going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in the Fox franchise, the X-Men movies, or James Spader playing Ultron, coming back in like a cameo role. And now there's talk of Doctor Strange being somewhat involved, which makes sense considering her next appearance is Spider-Man 3. Or
I think that'll be the post-credit scene.
I know. We'll
I'm thinking Thanos for this next one.
Bro. But do you guys think that we're going to see some variation of a brother or an uncle coming to visit, or something that's going to give us a throwback, whether it be in like an ad or it's going to be a main part of the show? Because the main thing that interested or piqued my curiosity about all this was in the setup for all of what we saw last week after the episode came out, there was some footage released, and it was like all of that was in the first like 2 minutes of the show. It was in that teaser reel and opening intro. So we had vague ideas of what was going on in the show, but the scenes that we have seen in the trailers and in the content they've released seem to be very much out of order in typical Marvel fashion, that they're trying to mislead us in some ways. And I'm wondering if you guys think that we're going to see another family member pop up, not so much like G did, but more so as a part of the simulation of like, oh, the uncle's coming to visit, or my brother's coming to, or that would be uncle, but father, whatever, my grandfather, whatever the relation they want to play it with. Do you guys think there's any validity to that theory? I'll let Ronnie start.
Like there is.
I was gonna say that I don't know if this is right or wrong, or if I misread, but at some point I looked at the casting for the show, and I think I saw Evan Peters on there. So I don't know if that has any validity to it. Maybe you know more than I do.
Lots of rumors were talking, and this was like 8 months ago, that it is Evan Peters that's coming, which also brings the question of, are they doing like a Fox thing where some of the old characters are coming over, or some of them aren't? Because if Evan Peters is coming back playing Quicksilver and Deadpool's coming back playing Deadpool, does that mean that we're also going to get other characters coming back? Michael Fassbender playing Magneto.
I know Deadpool. I know Deadpool's coming back for sure.
Nobody else has been talked about, so that's the biggest thing of, are they doing what they've talked about with the Jamie Foxx thing, where it's not really Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's more of, he was great. He could have been really great in that movie, but we like him as a character. We're going to bring him back, and he's going to be our Electro. So are they just taking some great casting from the past, and they're just going to use that, and they're going to play on the audience that knows that? They're going to be like, oh, hey, that was that guy who should have been her brother in a different universe. It was so... It just
Evan Peters, the X-Men guy?
Yeah.
He was Quicksilver.
That's weird.
Days of Future Past and Apocalypse.
And yeah.
These things don't correlate to me though.
Well, in the comics, that's her brother. Magneto's her father. So there's.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. There's lots of.
Matt, the Quicksilver in Age of Ultron that died is the same Quicksilver, like theoretically, not actually in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
This is gonna get nasty if they do that.
It's like the
Yeah,
two seasons
now
are
that
loosely
Disney
in
has,
the
like,
same
something completely
universe.
different, always.
Yeah. So I think they've played with the canon because they killed her brother off immediately, and her father and parents are both dead. So they're obviously Magneto ain't gonna be her father. But I just
superheroes and villains die all the time. Maybe it's
but I mean,
father,
I think
they were young when it happened. They never knew their actual father. Records come out.
You could be divorced or whatever, but I think Magneto's story, at least how they told it in the Fox franchise of him being a Holocaust survivor, is way more a powerful story beat, and there's a lot of emotional moments that can come with that I don't think you just want to let him be somebody else.
They shouldn't cross paths.
I think they'll do that.
What about Apocalypse and all that?
I mean,
like, when does this stuff come into play?
Because like death, like faked. I mean, fake death. I mean,
So,
people fake
Matt,
death.
what Joey was saying was like maybe this Evan Peters thing is just a recasting because he played the role well. Maybe it's like nothing to do with the previous actor.
There's
I like the old dude, but whatever.
There's lots of things that are like it could be whatever, but I think it would be interesting because Aaron Taylor Johnson has shifted from a lot of these geeky comic book movies because he was in Kick-Ass 1 and 2. He played Age of Ultron, it was all 2015, and he shifted to some more dramatic work. So
Kick-Ass is Marvel canon, all right?
Whatever. But I think there's a lot of cadence to Evan Peters, or validity. I don't know why I keep saying cadence. But Evan Peters coming back, I don't know. And I think that is a fun thing of like, we're going to see a cameo at some point, and it's going to be like, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to jump out of my seat and start screaming of like, I know that guy! And...
you know that guy, Joe? Let's go!
So, I think we kind of covered that. We're all excited if there's a possibility, and for those of you that did know, something to possibly be looking forward to in the next 3 episodes or so. I just want to break down what the future before we start talking predictions, because obviously it's a big part of our show, and we're keeping track of predictions, and we'll see who's got the most right at the end of this season's run. We'll do new runs with each season. Each show rather, but so lots of theories were confirmed, or not theories, but so much stuff was being confirmed very much this morning. We know the runtime total episodes is 9, but the runtime, which was confirmed back in November, December, of being 6 hours by Kevin Feige in the big Entertainment Weekly interview that he did. So that leaves us with, we have had an hour and a half worth of content out of 6 hours. So that leads a lot of people to be confirming the idea that the next 3 episodes are all going to be more the sitcom, which I'm sure the comedy may be disappointing to some more, and it's definitely going to trigger Matt. But then that also means, as we were talking about last week, that the last 3 episodes are going to be really big, and there's going to be a shift change. They talked in the interview how the first were playing a lot on the sitcom thing, but then we got the last 3 are going to be very much Marvel movie. So I want to lay that out there, and I want to make sure that's clear in everybody's minds. I think that's an exciting premise for all of us to go into, but
only 3 more episodes, Matt.
Yeah,
you'll be free and clear.
Yeah, hopefully.
Your mic turned on, by the way. Don't know how.
It's just a little boring. That's all.
But yeah, but
I mean,
I think it's.
I see where it's going though. I understand what they're going for. It's this perfect little world she's living in. The story goes well together. But as a viewer, you got to understand, it's like, if I'm watching 6 episodes of this, there's going to be boring elements of it. Like, and how engaging is this?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we saw with today, that your concern will probably be not as big next week, because they're definitely stepping down the gas. We're going to see a rapid progression here of story beats happening a lot quicker. We've now seen Monica Rambeau, Lieutenant Trouble, whatever we want to call her, being thrown out of the simulation into the real world. So we're definitely gonna see a bigger moment next week. I wonder if that starts the top of the show, or if it's more of we're gonna talk about that at the end of the show type deal. But there's lots of things coming into piece. So I want to hear. We talked a lot about predictions last week, and most of us were fairly on the nose, but we kind of talked a very vague level predictions. I want to get some hot takes on next week's episode from everyone. So we're gonna start with Nick. He's had the best calls so far from not the best, but I mean he started with a real hot call last week. So I wanna let him take the floor first with a big prediction. So one big prediction that can be taken as yes, this happened, no, it doesn't. So be very clear with your wording.
Next week, when we cut away, there will be the idea that Wanda's powers were being tested and it's gone wrong.
Okay, I like that. I like that idea. Ronnie, go ahead.
I predict that Vision's gonna start asking Wanda questions more advertently, like not like the way where he's like, "Oh yeah, Wanda, everything is wrong." Like there's not like that. More of like a do we know what's happening here kind of thing, or like him asking her, like mentioning how like some of the neighbors are acting weird, and he's gonna confront her more about that. That's my prediction. That's all I've got for next episode specifically. Yeah.
So I'm gonna rephrase it just simply, so I can make sure we're on the same page here. We're going to have at least 2 instances of questioning, and it's going to be more direct lines of questioning. Or are you talking more vague?
I'm talking more kind of just direct, like, oh, our neighbors are acting weird. Like, I think, what if he's like questioning that they're in the simulation, not knowing that Wanda's the one running it?
Okay, so we are relatively on the same page. I want to give Matt the floor because I know he's got to go. So
yeah.
Say your final piece.
Okay. As far as predictions, this might be far-fetched, but I know in a lot of shows, there's either a big portion of an episode or the whole episode where they don't give a one-sided view. So in this case, we've only been seeing Wanda and what's been happening in our little world. Maybe we get some background story on what's happening in this broadcasting station, or not broadcasting, but military base. Maybe a large portion of the episode is dedicated to what's life outside of this and what are people seeing from the outside. So it might be far-fetched, but I think it's a possibility in the show.
I'm gonna let the large portion go because I think that'll be small. But you think we're seeing more of the outside world? Okay, Owen.
Well, I think it might probably get a bit more like Vision centric.
Okay.
It's doing a bit more from his point of view, or like they're focusing more on him, kind of, feeling like something is like off and like wrong, and maybe coming to that kind of realization. Way more like time rewinding stuff and her like all like changing stuff. I feel like that's gonna be like happening a lot more often. Because I feel like, since I feel it's a bit more good Vision in the future, that she'll have to like correct some stuff, and then eventually he'll catch on to like all this correction she's doing.
Okay, so you're calling
stuff and
more Vision centric, and then more time rewinds.
Yes.
Okay. I need to go first next time because I feel like it's a cop out. I go last every time, and I just take a little piece of everybody's. Let me think. We got 80s next week. Big
Will
hot.
we get an 80s song?
Big hot prediction. Yes, but that's not a big hot prediction. We've gotten a music themed thing in every week.
No, like actual.
I just realized
we'll get the Full House intro.
Wasn't a lot of Evan Peters' Quicksilver his like music 80s based?
Yes, that's why lots of people loved his Quicksilver.
Music centric Evan Peters.
I'm not calling that.
Connection?
Maybe.
Man.
I think that's an episode 5 thing. I'm not predicting that now. We'll see if I'm wrong next week. But episode 4. No, that's a cop out because we know the twins have powers. Ah, crap. All right. I want a big hot prediction for myself here. I'm gonna say episode opens with.
I have another one for you if you need one.
No. This is my prediction. Episode opens with the outside world. We pick up where we left off.
All right.
It's a pretty solid prediction.
I think that's going to be wrong, but I think it would be interesting to see the shift. So,
Champ.
Yeah. That'd be a really interesting shift if they like start off literally where we left
more
off.
outside world stuff.
Yeah. So, we're gonna keep track of these, and you guys let your comments down in the comments down below of your predictions for next week's episode. But let's we all like the episode. We kind of made that clear. At the end of last week's episode, we kind of did a little rumor / news thing. So I've come up with an idea we're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna keep examining rumors every week. We're gonna present them to you, the audience, as well as ourselves, and we're gonna keep track of if things are real or not. So we have the first one on the report. We're gonna call it rumor report, the RR.
Don't need to abbreviate. Just call it rumor report.
All right. First one. It's not so much a rumor, but we're just gonna lay it out there. Scarlet Witch in Spider-Man 3 in some form. Elizabeth Olsen was talking about that in interviews around this week's episode. So I think there's a chance. There's also a chance that they just don't show it. So I think it's a 50-50 for me.
I think it's likely. I don't know why. I just feel like MCU is known for these cameos, whether they're big or small. And the only argument I would have against it is that Spider-Man has shown to have more of a tight-knit kind of cast usually, especially in the second movie.
Yeah.
You could argue like Nick Fury maybe, but as far as like the cameos go, it never goes as far as like something that Civil War did, obviously, or Thor Ragnarok or something like that.
We're getting there though. Trust me.
Yeah.
If we get a trailer for this, the breakdown for this on this channel is going to be fantastic. We'll do our own little mini podcast breakdown of the trailer because I know at least Ronnie and I are going to have some thoughts, or maybe we'll just do a Ronnie and I breakdown. But you and I got to talk about
excuse
that.
me. Spider-Man's the only character I care about.
Yeah. Okay, well then Owen wants in too.
But I feel like Wanda will show up probably, just especially because of all this multiverse kind of theory that's going on and how much she has to do with Doctor Strange and how much he has to do with Spider-Man. I feel like this is going to be their way of tying all of that stuff together for this phase of the MCU. And I feel like having those kind of cameos really affects that and helps build that as the movies go along. So I'm thinking it's a highly likely.
You think highly likely. So I'm 50-50. You're highly likely. Nick?
Rumor, she's not showing up in Spider-Man. She's showing up at the end credits scene of Doctor Strange.
Well, that's wrong.
That it involves Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 3 comes out before Doctor Strange 2.
Never mind. I don't know.
And she plays a big role in Doctor Strange 2.
Whatever.
True then. All right, next one with True. Owen.
Damn.
At the very least, be in the end credits thing because it's probably going to be the end credits for Doctor Strange 2.
Yes.
Or I feel like
Owen's putting good calls out today.
I feel like it's probably
that's not what you said.
She could be in like how Iron Man was only in not Far From Home, Homecoming. Like he was in it, but not like too much. He was just kind of like a slight mentor that like didn't show up too much. I feel like it could. I'm feeling like at most it would be to that extent.
Okay.
Otherwise, like, who knows?
It's a very, very limited role. All right. Next piece is Ryan Reynolds' reported contract for MCU. It's been reported through We Got This Covered, who's going through Patreons of Scoopers and whatnot. I think Daniel RPK was the one they cited. But he is reportedly on lock for at least 10 MCU projects in this first contract. That's a lot for
yeah, that's a lot.
So
he's gonna be the next Stan Lee. He will.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. I think he's just gonna be. That's just who Deadpool's character is. I feel like he's hit that nail right there, where he said he's the next Stan Lee. He's just gonna be in every little thing just for fun, and then when he's needed, maybe he'll sort of a bigger role. But I think that's very doable, very possible.
In the back of a shot, no one will know.
Yeah, like he'll wait at the camera, something.
Be like referenced, and then he'll just show a clip of him doing something dumb real quick.
And it'll, in his own movie, it'll
Straight
be just small adventures of him being in everything.
Yeah. So, the bigger thing there for me was still the 10 project number. I was like, that's a lot of projects, at least on a first contract, especially with how busy he is. Because not only is he a part of this franchise, but he's also a part of the Fast and Furious franchise. He's doing his own Netflix movies. He's in the sequel for Hitman's Bodyguard. I'm like, he's got a lot on his plate, and he started a new TV show too. That I'm like, 10 projects seems like a lot. So I think the cameo thing very likely, but I think Stan Lee's another step. I don't think they're gonna exactly play into that. I think before his movie you will see him pop up in the background of stuff, but I definitely think they want to save that contract for Deadpool 3. They want to build to an X-Force, so I don't know if they just do Deadpool 3 and then they do a team-up movie with him. I would love a team-up with him and Spider-Man. I think that would be a great buddy thing if Deadpool just saying some whack stuff and Spider-Man be like, bro, back off. But
I feel like that would be great for a very Deadpool-centric movie.
Was that your Brooklyn accent?
No, that wasn't. But thanks for saying that. Yeah, I don't know. I think 10's a lot, but I think they know what they have with him, and he will be the secret sauce for once they start setting up a lot of stuff. Because I think Phase 4 is going to last a lot longer than Phase 1, 2, and 3 did. Phase 1, 2, and 3 lasted for a total of 10 years, which was about 2.5 to 3 years per phase. And I think Phase 4 is looking like it's going to last between 4 and 5 years, with lots of projects involved in it. So it's going to be the most beefy phase.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of build up right now.
They're not. I know they're not following it. I'm more just saying I don't know if he gets introduced. They want to get this movie out as soon as possible, but because he's so busy, I think it's definitely more toward the end of Phase 4, and I think a lot of those projects are going to be Deadpool centric, and he's going to be in the X-Men / X-Force. That once you start putting those things together, Deadpool, X-Men, X-Force, Fantastic Four, whatever new Avengers teams, the face of the MCU has changed forever, and it will change because of the events of WandaVision and Endgame. So I'm excited where we're going, but so I think we all think that there's probably valid. They signed him for a bag. He probably got an absolute metric buttload of money. So next on the rumor report is Tobey Maguire being a diva on the set of Spider-Man 3.
True.
I can see it. I can see that being true.
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of that tired role. He's very tired of all that shit that comes with it. And you could definitely see, I forget when, I think maybe it was at the release of Spider-Man 3, but the paparazzi was really starting to annoy him. He started really getting more aggressive or more standing still. So I don't think it's necessarily because he's Tobey Maguire. I think it's just because he's tired of the role or the kind of responsibility that it brings.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different variations of this rumor with just Tom Holland not liking that he's not much in the front and center of the Spider-Man movie as he would like to be, and I've seen Garfield being annoying. It's like, I think tension's got to be high. You're filming this massive movie in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a lot riding on it for the future of the Spider-Man universe and how it connects to the Marvel universe. So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he's being massively annoying, like halting the project, because otherwise you'd see bigger sites reporting this. This was from a small fan site. So I think it's more so he's being annoying. Somebody complained, and then somebody's friend tweeted it, or is DMing Scoopers being like, hey, da da da, and that's how they get their start.
Someone got butthurt for
yeah,
minuscule reason, or just blowing things out of proportion. I mean, that happens a lot. So I mean,
yeah. You missed your blocking. You deal with a lot of egos on those sets. So,
let me guess, he took the last bagel off the refreshments cart, bro. And this dude got pissed.
Tom Holland wanted that bagel, bro. He's been carbo loading. All right, last on the rumor report is rumor HBO Max getting a new Batman the Animated Series. In the article, it says Batman the Animated Series sequel. I doubt that, but I think that's a very hard thing to follow up on. But what do we all think?
I don't think they would do a sequel, just because I feel like everyone would want it to be done right, like bring Kevin Conroy back, and I don't know how much or how willing he would be to stay in such a consistent role. He's done a very good job at coming at these like one shots, like video games or kind of cameos and stuff. But as far as being a consistent animated series voice, I don't know how willing he'd be to do that. So do I think it's true or false? I'm 50-50 on that. I feel like it could be, could also not be. Could be a completely different thing. That's my.
All right, Nick.
I think it probably will be true. There's been a lot of Batman-centric DC stories. I don't think it'll be the animated series as a sequel. It'll be more same actors coming back to reprise the roles, and it'll have the similar art style instead of something more updated. It'll be, and I think it might actually be grittier. But
Owen.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Nick, dude. I hope it's a bit more on the mature side. Hopefully, I mean, it could be maybe something to do with like Batman Beyond. I mean, that's just me personally. Like, Batman Beyond was epic. Like,
yeah.
And besides that, I want it to be like more mature.
So that's the biggest thing for you. You want that whatever project that's coming out for him to be more mature.
Yeah.
I think for me, the thing that it's going to be a sequel seems a little far-fetched. I think they want a new Batman animated series. We've had some version of Batman in animated form for a long time, since the 90s. Because you went from Batman the Animated Series to Superman the Animated Series. They had pop-ups in there. Then you go to Justice League Unlimited. And then you go to Batman Brave and the Bold, Beware the Batman. You go to Young Justice. I think it's very important for them to build out their animated lineup. I would like to see a more mature show dealing with mature themes like Young Justice has. I just don't know if this is going to be it. I think if this is going to be a sequel to the original, I think it's going to play a lot on... They haven't so much painted themselves into a corner with this, and this leaves a lot of room for mature storytelling. But where they end in Batman New Adventures, which was supposed to be like fifth season or whatever, which it was in a different art style, but they started playing with the Bat family, and I think that's you pick up with a fully formed Bat family, and then we get to see it at its height, and then predictably as viewers of the show eventually start to fall off, you may get to the more mature things of why Barbara wasn't so much in the Bat family anymore toward the end, why the different Robins have different things, and how everybody is so separated by the time Batman Beyond comes around. Because at the beginning of Batman Beyond, he's all alone. He is he has connections with people, but the Bat family has largely left him due to problems. So I don't know if it's a thing that you pick up with the Bat family and you throw back to the Batman the Animated Series style, and it's not so much in continuity. But you've got a lot of pieces that I think whoever wants this wants to just play. Let all the toys out and let them play. Because I think that's a lot of what the more recent animated properties have begun with or benefited from, with Harley Quinn being such a massive critical success, and with those who have watched it becoming such a cult following of like they gave them all the toys in the box and were like, do whatever you want, just go tell an awesome story with these characters that we love. Our fans follow the stories, and I think they've seen that with their animated content, with Young Justice having such another show that has such a cult following around it, and then Harley Quinn being another one on the case that it's like they know they have fans that'll pay for the subscription to watch whatever it is that I think they want to bring in new people, which would maybe why we're gonna do in the style of the animated series. So I don't know. That one's a little strange for me, but not surprising. So. Does anybody have anything they want to close out the show with? Any pieces of news or something they saw this week before we wrap up? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for or Owen, you got something?
Sequel. Beyond is technically a sequel.
Well, I know. That's why I was like, this show would have to be in such a specific time frame and deal with. It's not so specific that they painted themselves into a corner, but they're in a box. So I think whatever team is going to pick this up doesn't want to be in that box. They'd want to just break it all down and be like, let's tell our story with these characters. Let's tell something new and fresh. Because that's what comics have had most success in recent years, with MCU being able to be like, this is our story, this is our canon, we're gonna tell this awesome story, and you're gonna like it. It don't matter if this isn't what you think you wanted. You're gonna sit down. You may not love each thing we put out, but you're gonna like it, and you're gonna come back each time because you're gonna want to see whatever the cool new thing is that we got. And DC's had hit or miss success with it. They didn't build it out the same way that the MCU did. They were playing catch up, and a lot of what Ronnie was talking about with the Star Wars thing, of they played a very reactionary role in the shaking up of that universe, of once things start hitting the fan and you're like, oh, we don't like the bad press, we're going to take projects away from directors, we're going to do things that because they feel drastic. And it's like, we have a lot of great creators out there in this space nowadays that it's like, let them tell their story. It's going to have a lot of passion in it, regardless of what it is. So that's what it comes down to for me. I think the chances of it being a sequel series are very slim. I think the chances of being in the style of the old series very high. But the chances of it being on HBO Max and an animated series even higher. So all right, so I think that's it for all of us. This episode will not be as late as it was last week, so hopefully some of you are new viewers this week and have stayed through all the way. I want to thank all 65 of you that tuned in last week, and we hope you guys keep coming back for more and more. So we're as we said last week.
Subscribe.
Yep. Like the video, comment down below your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button. We got 2 subscribers last week.
Us.
So, thank you, and we'll see you next week for more WandaVision. And if there's any breaking news, we'll see you. Peace.
Thank you.